Hello everyone, and welcome to another game of World of Warships. Today it's one of my battles again, and I'm in the Arizona, the Tier 6 US battleship. I'm on the map Neighbors in a standard battle. Now it's a Tier 7 battle, but there are only 2 Tier 7s around. There is only one enemy destroyer, and while there is a carrier, I'm in a division with a Cleveland, so it's very nice matchmaking actually. Now here in the beginning of the match, I decided to go here down south. In a standard battle, you don't want to leave one flank open. There could just somebody sneak in behind and take your cap zone. I don't really like standard battles. I find domination much more interesting. But yeah. Unfortunately, here in this case, somebody in the team said, let's go towards the islands. So I think he means this area here, and you know, pretty much everybody in the team's following. Now I can't hold a flank on my own, and even with my division mate in Cleveland supporting me, we can't really do much alone on one flank. So with really everybody going here up towards the top right corner, I can't continue down south. Now, as I said, we can't leave our cap open, so we have to somehow stick close and be ready to defend, but just driving straight towards probably large enemy force isn't going to win this battle. Oh, here I'm taking my first shots towards the Congo. And yeah, I have to say I really like the Arizona. It pretty much feels like in New Mexico. I love the New Mexico. Well, and there is an enemy airstrike coming in, but here is my trusty Cleveland who will support me with the anti-air, and unfortunately due to, well, a bit of lack of communication between us, we kind of collided here. But honestly, it's not too bad, I guess. Unfortunately, Cleveland here took one torpedo. I'm taking one hit as well, but we are still pretty healthy. There isn't even a flooding. So, all well that ends well. And now we can turn away here and go a bit more north. As you can see, there are quite a few ships of the enemies here down south. Basically, most of the enemy ships. We really can't continue driving towards them. And yeah, so as you can see, the Cleveland detonated. Now personally, I don't have that much problem with the detonation mechanic in general. I think they are rare enough that I don't mind them that much, but they can be frustrating when they happen. And see, the enemy is even sorry for detonating my friend here, so that's nice. And yeah, I will now have to continue my retreat towards the north. There are basically every enemy is down there. And there is really no way that I can charge in all of those. So I have to hope that my team realizes that and they will come back here and engage the enemy. Now our destroyers are sneaking behind the enemy line and they might try to cap. But there is a carrier, and carriers can just react very fast anywhere on the map. They can keep the destroyers spotted if they are in the cap. The destroyers alone won't have the anti-air to deal with planes, and the smoke is limited. So a destroyer could just keep interrupting them with dive bombers, keep them spotted for the team, and that means like stealth capping probably not gonna work. So we have to defend against this onslaught. And there are a lot of enemies firing at me. I'm trying to get the best use out of my guns. This Omaha was presenting me with a pretty decent target. And mostly I just wanna get away here and survive and hopefully delay the incoming enemy force. Now while I'd love to just turn around and push against the enemies, it just isn't a position where you can do that. I really have to hope that those ships here come down to help me. Also, while I might want to rejoin my friendly ships here, I can't just show my broadside to all those enemies. So the only way I can... The only destination I can go is here pretty much straight north. Anything else will just end in my untimely demise. I'm going for this Omar again. He's a little bit angled, but I should be able to get good hits, hopefully. And basically I'm just looking for targets of opportunity that... Yeah, that worked. Now I don't want to turn too much. I still want to shoot my front turrets. I'm trying to prioritize cruisers because I can really do a lot of damage to cruisers. And I just want to thin the enemy lines as much as possible. And there will probably be a time when I have to turn around and make a stand, depending on how this enemy push goes. But the enemies just keep coming. I don't think our destroyers have much chance of capping. As you can see, I think the enemy carrier is already going after the destroyers. They don't have any anti-air support. So I don't think... As you can see, he's sending his fighter here to keep the enemies spotted. Now maybe our carrier can give them some support, but that's basically their only choice. That's their only hope. Now the enemy destroyer is also closing in on me. So I'm trying to take him out. I'm showing a bit too much of my side in the hopes of... Yep. So it paid off. I'm currently showing way too much broadside towards those enemies, but I wanted my front guns and I really needed to get rid of the destroyer. If the destroyer can sneak into the cap, we have a problem. Now again, we have a carrier, so if our carrier can keep him spotted, this might have helped, but I don't really have that much fire support. As you can see, the majority of my team is still just going aggressive. Now this Belfast is very slow, he's showing me broadside. I think I gave too much lead in the beginning, he's slowing down too much. So I tried to spread out my shells a little bit, but all I'm getting here is over penetrations, which is pretty sad. And there is an island in front of me. I have to be careful not to run myself into ground. As you can see, there are a lot of battleships still behind me. But it looks like the enemies are a little bit spreading up. They have some people going back to defend. Our team is still pushing strong, but there is an overwhelming force going for our cap. And our destroyers are doing a pretty good job at capping, but as you can see, there is a huge plane fight above the destroyers, and with the destroyers spotted, all of those enemy ships can interrupt them. So I don't have high hopes for my team capping. And I can barely avoid that island. And hey, it's a British cruiser showing broadside. I wonder what will happen. I don't think anybody is surprised. But it was nice nevertheless. And to be fair, this could have happened to any cruiser showing broadside. Sometimes even to a battleship showing broadside, so don't show your broadside. Now the Belfast here is also still around. He is one of the last soft targets left. So if I can, I'll probably try to focus on the Belfast. And the enemy battleships have now entered our cap circle. And as you can see, our carrier is sending planes in to interrupt those battleships, so I'm not concerned yet that they will cap anytime soon. Also, those battleships are easily spotted from far away. Focusing down the battleship in the cap circle would be probably a good idea, but I really want to deal with this Belfast. Belfast is at pretty low health, and it's just a few guns less that are shooting at us if I can take care of her. And yes, as you can see, our carrier is going for the capping battleship, so I don't have to hurry with a reset. And the Belfast is almost down. Somebody took care of her, so that's nice. Now I'm turning around, I will go back, and basically I'll just have to interrupt those ships as long as possible and hopefully deal with them with help of the carrier. Now while I'm turning around, I'm showing my broadside, and I took quite a bit of a hit for that. But I can't risk those battleships maybe finding cover behind an island so that I can't interrupt them anymore. And if my ship sinks, doesn't really matter. What matters is that I keep those two enemies busy as long as possible. Now there is one friendly cruiser who is also coming back to help me reset the caps. The carrier is obviously going to help. There is quite a bit of time between his plane strikes because he has to rearm them. And, well, our team is once again trying to cap. They might be able to win this engagement down there. But even if they do, I'll have to buy them time. Now I'll focus on the not capping Congo first. This Congo is probably trying to run interference so that I don't reset his friend. There might be an argument be made for just trying to reset that, but I still think I can win against this Congo and reset the other Congo afterwards. Also, there is already one dive bomber on the way, and the carrier has already proven that he's willing to reset the cap, and there is still the cruiser. So I'm going for the Congo is showing me broadside, and it paid off. I actually survived the encounter and dealt with the Congo. Now there is the second Congo left. And I'm on pretty low health, but the Arizona is a well-armored battleship. And the Congo is showing me broadside, and I do have support. Now, if the Congo is shooting me, he isn't shooting the cruiser, which is pretty nice. And there are already torpedo bombers on the way, so I think this Congo will go down. And our offensive force down here, I think, is doing a good job at taking the enemy cap. So it's suddenly looking rather okay. I will do my best to keep angle towards this Congo. I don't need to fire my rear guns. I'm not in a desperate situation to do damage to this guy. I'm quite happy in attracting his attention and letting the shores and my carrier do a lot of the work. Now this was a pretty decent hit. And there come the torpedo bombers. Now I could turn my ship and use my rear guns. My rear guns are also finally turned, and considering that the Congo is showing broadside, I'd have a good chance of unleashing the Kraken if I just turn my ship a little bit more. But there is really no reason to it. The carrier is doing a good job. The torpedoes were going to get it anyway, so I'm happy to leave the kill to my carrier. And yeah, that's a successful defense. The enemy is down to two battleships and a carrier. And while I'm not sure if we will win this engagement down there, certainly hope we will. And one enemy battleship is down, so it's looking good down there. If those battleships win this engagement, then yeah, the battle is won. And I even complimented our carrier, and I think our cruiser here as well, who helped me defend. Now the remaining part of the battle is rather unspectacular because, well, the Arizona is a very slow ship and I just didn't get back into the action. In the end, we took down the battleship and our team won by capping. So we will just skip to the end. Now let's take a look at the results. I managed to get 2,152 base experience and I sunk 4 enemy ships, and I'm really happy with that result. Shout out obviously to the Shores and the Ryojo who helped me defend the cap, and well, without defending the cap we would have lost. Also shout out to my division mate who unfortunately got detonated in the beginning of the game and still didn't do so bad. Oh, I got myself Confederate Dreadnought and 2 devastating strikes. I managed to deal 130,000 points of damage, and I hope you enjoyed this battle. Mostly it was me running away, shooting at targets of opportunity, and then turning around in a decisive battle for the cap. And I found it an interesting battle. I hope you did so as well. And I'll see you guys next time.